Do you also have countless informative videos saved, a pile of good books bought, and feel like you understand everything, yet your life doesn't seem to change at all? We may all have been giants in knowledge, but dwarfs in action at some point. Our brains are like warehouses that only take in but never let out, filled with all kinds of theories and methods, yet rarely able to apply them to reality, solve specific problems, or accomplish something decent. This gap between knowing and doing is precisely the most common source of anxiety in this era. So, is there a way to convert the cognition in our minds into action? The classic book we are going to study intensively today, Cognitive Drive, gives us a key. This book doesn't teach new knowledge, instead, it teaches you how to use knowledge. What it aims to solve is the most crucial and difficult step between learning and doing. Next, let's break down the core of this book: how to build a powerful cognitive drive system, so that your life is no longer driven by anxiety, self-blame, or short-lived enthusiasm. Instead, it is driven by a clear, controllable, and sustainable internal engine to accomplish something useful for others and create a controllable life of your own. Here's an interlude. Starting today, if you click to download the Chishure music app at the bottom left corner of the video, you can listen to all the intensive book study content I've prepared for free. You can also adjust the playback speed freely, create playlists as you like, and even listen with your phone locked. This way, you can have the warmest company during your commute, workouts, or before bed. Earlier, we talked about the huge gap between knowing and doing, right? It feels like a martial arts prodigy who has memorized all the world's martial arts secrets, but when something really happens, can only perform a set of basic calisthenics. This feeling actually has a more piercing name: learning involution. What does that mean? It means we are trapped in a strange cycle, using diligence in learning to cover up laziness in action. We seem to be making progress every day. Our collections are getting fuller, our hard drives are getting more stuffed, and our note-taking apps are filled with colorful notes. We immerse ourselves in the illusion of "I've learned something new again." But in reality, this knowledge is just moved from one place to our brains, and then nothing more happens. It is not used, not tested, and certainly not transformed into any achievement in our lives. We are like knowledge hamsters, desperately running in a hamster wheel, gasping for breath and sweating profusely, but in fact, we haven't moved forward an inch. We are just repeating a kind of fake effort in place. Then the question arises, what exactly is keeping us trapped in this wheel? What force makes us prefer to spin in place rather than jump out and venture into the real world? Cognitive drive gives us a shocking answer. The mastermind that traps us is something extremely familiar to each of us: anxiety. Most of our actions, even what we call effort, do not come from a heartfelt "I want to," but are pushed forward by an invisible force from behind. That force is anxiety-driven. Think carefully. Don't you often have thoughts like these? If I don't learn some AI, I'll be left behind by the times. Everyone around me is doing a side hustle. Should I hurry up and do something too? This book is so popular. Everyone else has read it. Will I fall behind if I don't? You see, the starting point of these thoughts is not for creation or passion, but for not falling behind and not being eliminated. The essence of this driving force is fear. We are like a flock of sheep chased by a sheepdog, afraid of being bitten, so we run as fast as we can. But where are we running? We don't know. Why are we running? Because everyone else is running. This anxiety-driven model is like a toxic operating system. It continuously brings at least 3 catastrophic consequences to our lives, which is also the fundamental reason why many of us think a lot but do little. The first consequence is vague direction, making us live like headless flies. Driven by anxiety, we are particularly prone to chasing hot trends. Today, if we hear that short videos are a trend, we hurry to figure out how to shoot videos, Tomorrow, if we hear that writing can make money, we immediately sign up for a writing course. In a few days, we think that doing e-commerce is the way to go. Our energy is like sprinkling pepper, sprinkled a little everywhere, but not a single well can be dug anywhere. We are not choosing our own battlefield, but passively dealing with gunfire from all directions. In this state, we can never become an expert in a field because our hearts have never been settled. It's like we're someone who is always chasing fashion trends. Our wardrobe is full of all kinds of trendy clothes, but none of them really suit us or can show our own style. We seem busy all year round, but in fact, we have been standing still on the path of choice and have never truly walked on a single path. The second consequence is an extremely painful process and huge energy consumption. What does it feel like to do things driven by anxiety? It's I should do it, not I want to do it. This means that everything you do is essentially fighting against your own nature. It's like you have a diesel car, but you insist on filling it with gasoline, of course. The car will run tiredly and uncomfortably and may stall at any time. We often glorify this pain as self-discipline and persistence. We cheer ourselves on. Only by enduring hardships can one become a superior person. But in reality, this is a huge form of self-consumption. Our willpower is like a phone battery, it's limited. If you use it all to fight internal friction and force yourself to do things you don't like or agree with, how much power will you have left for truly creative thinking? Therefore, many people's efforts are tinged with a sense of tragedy. They clench their teeth, frown, and twist themselves into a knot. This state is okay occasionally, but if it becomes the norm in life, how long do you think it can last? Most people torture themselves repeatedly in the cycle of getting motivated, running out of energy, slacking off, self-loathing, getting motivated again. This is not growth at all. It's just wasting energy on meaningless cycles. The third and most fatal consequence is minimal results with no ability to accumulate. This is the most frustrating part. Driven by anxiety, many things we do are one time. They have no connection with each other and cannot form a combined force. What we learn today may be forgotten tomorrow because it is not used. The efforts we make this month may be completely redone next month because they are not based on a long-term goal. It's like building sandcastles on the beach. You build one today and another tomorrow. It seems like you're not idle every day, but when the tide comes, nothing is left. All the efforts you put in will disappear without a trace as time goes by. At the end of the year, when you take stock of the past year, you will find that you seem to have done many things, read many books, and taken many courses, but at the same time, it feels like you have accomplished nothing. You have no decent work to show for yourself, no skill that can support you in life, and even less a system that can continuously create value for you. Your efforts have not become assets, they have only become experiences. Vague direction, painful process, and minimal results. These are the three major shackles brought to us by the toxic system of anxiety-driven. It makes us seem hardworking, but in fact, we are getting farther and farther away from real growth. So, is there a possibility that we can break these shackles? Is there a way to replace the driving engine of our lives with a healthier, stronger, and more durable one? Of course there is. This is what we are going to explore in depth next, the true core of this book, cognitive drive. In the previous section, we recognized the trap of anxiety-driven that keeps us spinning in place. It's like we're on a muddy uphill road, using all our strength to push an old, heavy broken cart from behind. We're sweating profusely and exhausted, with our faces pressed against the back of the cart. We can't even see the road ahead. We're just forced to consume ourselves because we're afraid of falling behind. Since this road is a dead end, where is the way out? The answer cognitive drive gives us is a term that can completely change the rules of the game in our lives, cognitive drive. The difference between it and anxiety-driven is like the difference between driving a car and pushing a car. This metaphor perfectly reveals the charm of cognitive drive. It turns you from a cart pusher with limited vision and passive consumption into a driver who controls the overall situation and enjoys the journey. Instead of staring at the back of the cart, you look at the road ahead with clear navigation guiding your direction. Instead of relying on brute force to struggle, you rely on a powerful engine to provide you with a steady stream of power. Every step you take forward is visible, effective progress that accumulates continuously on the odometer. You see, the transformation from pushing a car to driving a car systematically solves all our pain points in terms of direction, process, and results. Hearing this, you must be thinking, how exactly is this wonderful driving experience achieved? What is the internal structure of this magical life engine? Great question. This transformation certainly doesn't happen with a single slogan or a bowl of inspirational chicken soup. Behind it lies an extremely rigorous and actionable engineering blueprint, and this is the real practical knowledge we are going to learn in depth in this section, the value creation flywheel. This flywheel is the core structure that enables cognitive drive, and it consists of 3 interconnected and indispensable components. The first core component is the goal system, which is your North Star. It is not only the navigation of the flywheel, but also the high-quality fuel for the flywheel. What this component solves is the problem of the quality of driving force. Many people can't take action not because they have no goals, but because the quality of their goals is too poor. A vague, purely self-serving goal is like putting low-quality gasoline into an engine. It may start the fire, but it will soon lack power, produce a lot of carbon deposits, and even cause the entire system to stall and be scrapped. In contrast, the altruistic goal of being highly useful to others advocated in the book is the highest quality nuclear fuel. Because it is an open system that can continuously draw energy from the external world. The needs of others, market feedback, and the world's pain points will all become driving forces for your progress. It forces you to create real value, and in this process, brings you the most profound sense of accomplishment and the most objective yardstick of value. A high-quality North Star goal is an absolute prerequisite for ensuring that your engine can operate stably and efficiently for a long time. The second core component is the action system, also known as the minimized starter. It is not only the ignition device of the flywheel, but also the key to breaking the deadlock of the entire system. This component solves the problem of initial inertia that exists both in physics and psychology. We all know that pushing a stationary object is far more difficult than maintaining a moving one. Countless of our grand plans are aborted because the psychological energy required to start them is too enormous. This minimized starter is an elaborate mechanism designed specifically to break through the fear of starting. Its design principle does not rely on willpower to confront head-on. Instead, like a smart engineer, it uses an extremely small action that consumes almost no energy to leverage the entire system. It is a behavioral pattern that can easily bypass the risk early warning system of our brain, allowing us to complete the start from 0 to 1 without pain, or even without noticing. Without this component, no matter how good the fuel or how powerful the engine is, it will just be a pile of useless scrap metal that cannot be started. The third core component is the feedback system, also called the evolutionary circulator. It is not only the core engine of the flywheel, but also a self-evolving, perpetual motion machine. This component solves the most core problem in all growth: how to achieve continuous, exponential evolution. The traditional mode of effort is linear and even diminishing, while this evolutionary circulator is a closed-loop system that can achieve compound growth. Its genius lies in treating the output result of each of our actions as valuable data, which is then re-input into the system through the channel of feedback to guide and optimize the next action. It is like the most advanced artificial intelligence. Every interaction with the outside world and every piece of feedback obtained is not in vain, but is immediately transformed into the upgrading and iteration of the system. This component ensures that your flywheel does not just rotate in simple repetition, but becomes stronger, more accurate, and more efficient with each rotation. It turns your growth from a laborious task into an automatic and enjoyable evolutionary game. Well, here is the blueprint. The high-quality North Star is responsible for direction and navigation, the elaborate starter for ignition and braking deadlocks, and the powerful circulator for sustainability and evolution. This is the solid, rigorous, and actionable core knowledge behind cognitive drive. Next, we will officially enter the forging phase, transforming these three components one by one from theoretical blueprints into powerful tools available in your hands. Welcome to our forging workshop. In this section, what we are going to forge is the core component of the entire value creation flywheel, the one that determines all directions and momentum, your North Star goal. This component is so important because if you choose the wrong one, all your subsequent efforts and all systems will be meaningless. So, what does a truly powerful goal that can drive us for a lifetime look like? When most of us set goals, we will subconsciously choose the self-serving mode, such as I want to become someone with an annual salary of 1 million. This goal seems attractive, but cognitive drive tells us that it is actually very fragile in terms of driving force. Why? Because it is a closed system, and its momentum comes entirely from your personal desires. However, the satisfaction of desires often brings not happiness, but greater emptiness and anxiety. This system also has a fatal flaw. Its feedback is extremely single and unstable. The only feedback you can get is your own subjective feelings and the numbers in your bank account. This kind of feedback easily makes us give up quickly when encountering difficulties because we feel bad. In contrast, a truly powerful goal is exactly the opposite. It is an open system. This goal model is altruism, which means solving a specific problem for a group of people. For example, upgrading. I want an annual salary of 1 million to I want to help 10,000 workplace newcomers like me increase their annual salary by 50,000 by learning effective work methods. Think carefully about the vastly different lives these two goal models will bring you. Under the latter altruistic goal, your source of motivation expands from personal desire to the needs of others. The world's pain points and needs are infinite, so your motivation is also infinite. More importantly, you have an extremely rich and objective external feedback system. Those 10,000 workplace newcomers are your best product managers and navigators. Is your method useful? They will tell you with the most real results. Every question and every request for help from them points out the direction for your progress and iteration. You are no longer groping alone in the dark. Instead, you are being pushed and pulled forward by the support and expectations of a group of people. In this process, the value you create is real, the sense of accomplishment you gain is profound, and the connections you build are warm. In the end, when you really help many people, wealth and reputation will often come to you naturally as byproducts. Therefore, altruism is not a morally noble slogan. It is an extremely smart, human-centered top-tier strategy that enables you to obtain continuous motivation. Okay, we understand the principle. Now the most practical question is, as an ordinary person, how on earth can I find that thing that is highly useful to others and that I really want to do for a lifetime? Don't worry. The book provides us with an extremely useful life treasure map, which we can call the Clover model. Now, please calm down and explore these three areas with me. The first leaf is your passion zone. What are you infinitely curious about? Please first forget about utilitarian thoughts like whether it's useful or whether it makes money, and simply ask yourself, when doing what kind of thing, do you feel time flies by? In which field do you have endless curiosity and are willing to study and understand it even without being paid? This thing is the spark of your inner passion. It may be grand, for example, you are obsessed with the stars and the universe. Or it may be trivial, for example, you just like to study the flavors of various coffee beans. Or you get a special sense of accomplishment from organizing messy data into beautiful spreadsheets. Write them down honestly, as this is your most original source of energy. The second leaf is your endowment zone. What do you do a little more easily than others? Note that this does not refer to a talent that makes you stand out from everyone else, but something that you feel you can do a little more easily and with a better sense than most people around you. You need to look for clues like a detective. For example, do friends often come to you to talk about their troubles? This means you may be good at listening and empathy. Do you pick up a new software quickly just by watching tutorials? This means you have good logical comprehension ability. Can you always explain a complex thing to others using simple metaphors? This means you have a talent for paraphrasing and expression. List all these abilities that you seem to be good at. The third leaf, and the most critical one, is the value zone. What are the pain points and aspirations of others? This zone requires us to lift our heads, shift our gaze away from ourselves, and observe the real world. From today on, you need to develop a new habit, being a problem collector. Every day when you scroll through your phone, chat with friends, or walk on the road, you should keep an eye out for problems. For example, you find that many workplace newcomers don't know how to write a decent resume. This is a pain point. You find that many parents want to make nutritious breakfasts for their children, but are always pressed for time in the morning. This is also a pain point. You find that many young people who keep pets can't find reliable places to board their pets when they are on business trips. This is also a huge pain point. Collect all these problems as precious treasures. Okay, we have found the 3 leaves: passion, endowment, and value. Now comes the most exciting moment. What you need to do now is to find the intersection area of these 3 leaves. The moment these 3 circles perfectly overlap, click, the gears of your life will align. For example, you are passionate about personal finance and always like to study various ways to save and invest money. You are particularly good at making clear and easy to understand spreadsheets. At the same time, you find that many of your Moonlight Clan friends, people who spend all their monthly salary, are eager to save money but find bookkeeping too troublesome. Then, the extremely specific goal of designing a simple and interesting spreadsheet template for young Moonlight Clan members that lets them know where their money goes with just one fill-in suddenly becomes extremely clear and full of appeal, doesn't it? This intersection point is what the book defines as the North Star goal that allows you to shine and contribute. It is not only something you love and are good at, but also something the world needs. Once you find it, you will have discovered the cleanest, most powerful, and most enduring nuclear fuel for the engine of your life. It will be like a lighthouse, guiding your direction in the long years ahead and ensuring you never lose your way amid any storms. Well, so far, we have finished forging the first core component of our value creation flywheel, the North Star. With direction and fuel in place, the next step is to solve that age-old problem: how to ignite the engine and get it started. Now we have a clear, grand, and meaningful North Star goal. Just thinking about it may fill us with excitement, but immediately after, a huge gap lies before us. The goal is high above in the sky, while we stand on the ground. How on earth do we bridge this distance? This is where the vast majority of our life dreams end up as empty fantasies, failure to start. We have all had such experiences. We set a perfect plan and feel like we are about to be reborn. Yet a day passes, 2 days pass, a month passes, and we still hesitate to take that first step. What exactly are we waiting for? To answer this question, we must first understand our brain, this friend who accompanies us day and night, yet often acts out of whims. Deep in its core code, our brain has 2 ancient instructions written into it. First, conserve energy. Second, avoid risks. These 2 instructions helped our ancestors survive in ancient times, but today, When we want to do something creative that requires long-term investment, they become a massive braking system. Think about it. When we set a goal like, I want to write a 200,000-word novel within a year, our brain, acting as the safety and energy consumption manager, will immediately start calculating. Warning. Warning. The task of write a novel is expected to take 1 year, require massive consumption of brain cells with unknown success probability and extremely high failure risk. This is a terrible investment with high energy consumption and high risk. To ensure the host's survival, I suggest abandoning this immediately and turning to low energy, high certainty activities, such as scrolling through short videos or reading gossip news. You see, this is the true reason behind our procrastination. It's not that we are lazy or lack willpower, but that our ancient, dutiful brain is protecting us in its own way. It is preventing us from doing things that seem dangerous. So, does that mean we have to give in helplessly and let this old-fashioned system control us? No. The book Cognitive Drive gives us a magical key that can unlock the door to any action. It doesn't teach us to fight against our brain with willpower. Instead, it teaches us to trick our brain with wisdom. This magical key is the second core component of our value creation flywheel, the exquisite starter, minimized action. This concept can be said to be the most disruptive and immediately effective action magic in the entire book. Its definition is extremely simple. Break down your grand goal into an extremely tiny, specific action that requires almost no willpower at the moment, is so small that it's impossible to fail, and even seems ridiculous to yourself. Its core is not about completing a certain amount of tasks, but solely about achieving one thing, tricking our brain into unknowingly agreeing to let us start acting. Here are a few examples to help you immediately feel how magical this key is. Case 1. Suppose you want to become a writer or blogger. The grand goal that would scare your brain away is, today I need to write a 3,000-word article, and your brain would react, oh my god, 3,000 words. Spare me, I'll do it tomorrow. However, the minimized action that can trick your brain is turn on the computer, create a new document, and then write just one sentence or only an attractive title. When you do this, your brain will think, oh, it's just this little thing, it won't even take a minute. Alright, fine, I'll do it. But here's the miracle. Once you actually open the document and write that title, your mind will already be in a writing mode, and the heaviest starting door will have been pushed open. After that, writing a paragraph or another 200 words becomes a smooth and natural process. Case 2. Suppose you want to have a healthy body and start working out. The grand goal that would scare your brain away is, tonight I'll go to the gym and finish a full workout, and your brain would react, that's too tiring. I just want to lie down after work. Besides, I have to change clothes, drive there and take a shower. Forget it. On the other hand, the minimized action that can trick your brain is, stand up from the sofa right now and put on your sports pants and sneakers. Once you put on this outfit, a subtle shift in your identity occurs. You are no longer a person who wants to work out, but a person who is ready to work out. At this point, doing a few squats in the living room or going out for a 10-minute run becomes natural. Case 3. Suppose you want to learn a new language or skill. The grand goal that would scare your brain away is, starting today, I'll insist on studying for 1 hour every day, and your brain would react, 1 hour. Where do I get that much uninterrupted time? It's too hard to keep up. In contrast, the minimized action that can trick your brain is, open that learning app and finish today's first question, or just memorize 5 new words. This action may only take 3 minutes, but its most important role is to maintain your learning momentum and light up another, completed small checkmark on your calendar. These continuous tiny victories are the ultimate secret to developing any long-term habit. Now you understand, right? The starter of minimized action relies not on brute force, but on cleverness. It doesn't confront our brain head-on. Instead, like a psychology master, it bypasses the brain's defense mechanisms and directly reaches the core of action. Its sole purpose is to help us break the most terrifying spell of inactivity and make our flywheel complete the rotation from 0 to 0.1. Because once it starts spinning, the entire nature of the game changes. Okay, so far, the navigation and fuel for our flywheel are in place, and the ignition device has been built. Next, we will move into the most core and exciting part: how to install a perpetual motion engine for our flywheel, one that can evolve on its own and make the flywheel spin faster and faster. Up to this point, we already have the North Star to guide our direction and have mastered the minimized action magic to start anything. It can be said that our flywheel has been successfully given a push and has begun to spin slowly. However, this is precisely the starting point of another failure for many people. They can start, but they cannot continue. After a brief burst of enthusiasm, the flywheel falls silent again. Why? The analysis in the book points out, because their actions follow a closed monologue mode. They just act silently, then judge themselves using their own subjective and often biased standards. This process easily leads to boredom due to the lack of positive feedback, or stagnation due to self-doubt. In contrast, masters of cognitive drive all know how to upgrade this inefficient monologue to an efficient dialogue mode. The core of their actions is not to move themselves, but to dialogue with the world. This dialogue system is the third and most powerful core component we will build in this section, a feedback loop system that can make you addicted. According to the book, this self-evolving circulator consists of an extremely simple 4-step process. But if you can repeatedly execute these 4 steps, it can upgrade your growth from a linear accumulation mode to an exponential compounding mode. Step 1. Act and produce a minimized work. This step is a natural extension of the starter we discussed in the previous section. However, the book emphasizes that the goal of action here is not to complete a task, but to produce a minimized work that can be tested. What does this mean? It means your action must leave a tangible result. If you want to write, the output is a well-written paragraph. If you want to make videos, the output is an edited short video. If you want to program, the output is a piece of runnable code. This work can be extremely rough and imperfect, but it must exist, be specific, and be something that can be shared with others for communication. This is the prerequisite for starting the entire cycle. Step 2. Seek feedback and bravely show your imperfections. This is the most counterintuitive step in the entire system, yet also the one with the greatest value. The book devotes a great deal of space to emphasizing its importance. After producing your minimized work, you must immediately and bravely make it public. This public does not refer to your parents or spouse. They will most likely only offer encouragement. Instead, it should refer to your potential users or target audience, i.e., the group of people you want to serve when setting your North Star goal. Our greatest inner fear is the fear of exposing our imperfections and being criticized. We always want to wait until we reach perfection, 100 points, before sharing our work. But the author points out sharply, the idea of pursuing perfection is the greatest enemy of growth. You must completely reshape your perception of feedback at the conceptual level. The book argues that so-called negative reviews and criticism are not attacks on you personally, but extremely valuable objective data about your work. When someone says, "This article is too dry and boring to read," they are not denying you. They are using their own experience to provide you with a priceless iteration suggestion. My users prefer stories and cases. When someone says, "I don't know how to use this feature," they are helping you identify a fatal flaw in your product's interaction design. Therefore, you must step out of your own bubble and treat your users and readers as your valuable product managers. Every interaction, every like, and every complaint from them is calibrating your direction and providing free optimization data for your engine. Step 3. Revise and achieve a cognitive upgrade. After collecting this valuable data, we move to the third step. This step is not a simple revision, but what the book defines as a cognitive upgrade. You need to act like a calm detective and analyze the subtext behind this feedback. Why do they find it boring? Is there a problem with my angle or with my way of expression? Why do they find it hard to use? Have I not fully understood their usage scenarios? This process is about internalizing external objective data into your own cognition. Every effective revision means that your cognitive level has improved a notch compared to your previous self. You are no longer creating based on wishful thinking. You begin to truly understand your users and the underlying logic of value creation. Step 4. Act again and start a smarter cycle. With your brand new brain that has just completed a cognitive upgrade, immediately launch your second minimized action. This time, your action will no longer be a blind rush based on feelings. It has been accurately calibrated by the feedback data from the previous cycle. Therefore, the quality of the minimized work you produce this time will definitely be higher than the last, and it will be closer to the needs of your users. Then, you release this higher quality work to get higher quality feedback, make revisions at a higher level, and launch an even stronger action. Act, feedback, revise, act again. You see, a perfect, spiral upward closed loop is thus formed. Once this cycle starts running, it will make you addicted because it perfectly activates the most fundamental reward circuit in our brain. Every time you receive positive feedback, every time you see your work improve after revisions, and every time you feel the thrill of your cognitive upgrade, your brain will secrete a large amount of dopamine. This kind of happiness brought by real growth is far more lasting and profound than any form of entertainment. It will transform you from a person who needs to rely on willpower to persist into a person who is pulled forward by the joy of growth. Alright, the final core component of our flywheel, the feedback loop system, has also been forged. Now all three components are in place, and next comes the moment to witness the miracle. We will assemble them together and see what earth-shattering changes will take place in our lives when this complete value creation flywheel starts spinning at high speed. Okay, friends, we have now fully assembled all the components of the value creation flywheel: the North Star, the starter, and the circulator. So, what earth-shattering changes will occur in our lives when this engine, built with our own hands, begins to spin continuously at high speed? According to the analysis in the book, the continuous operation of this flywheel will bring 3 progressive levels of core life assets that no one can take away. The first level of assets, and the most superficial one, is an personal portfolio that cannot be faked. The book argues that in the future world, the hardest currency a person can have is not their academic degree or resume, but their portfolio, the articles you continuously publish, the products you polish, and the case library you accumulate. These are the most direct and objective proofs of your ability to create value. It will act like a huge magnet, automatically attracting opportunities, resources, and like-minded partners to you. It shifts your life from a job-seeking mode to a being-chosen mode. The second level of assets is a set of value creation algorithms internalized in your mind. When you operate your feedback loop system day after day, the process of act, feedback, revise, act again will gradually transform from a methodology you need to deliberately implement into an instinct of your thinking. It's as if you have installed a set of underlying algorithms in your brain that can solve any problem. No matter which new field you enter or what new challenges you face in the future, you will have a set of meta-abilities that allow you to draw inferences from one instance and create value. This ability is far more precious than any single skill. It gives you the confidence to face uncertainty, and this is the true iron rice bowl, a stable and secure foundation for life. The third level of assets, and the most profound one, is a sense of life control, with unwavering inner certainty. When we possess the portfolio, external proof of value, and the algorithm's internal core capabilities, the anxiety that once troubled us loses its ground to exist. The book analyzes that the sense of life being out of control stems from uncertainty about the future and powerlessness toward oneself, and the value creation flywheel is precisely the ultimate weapon to resolve these two major problems. You no longer fear unemployment because you know you have the ability to create work for yourself. You no longer fear change because you know you have ways to adapt to any change. A new order will be established in your heart, an order that does not rely on any external position or title, but only comes from your clear awareness of the fact that you have the ability to continuously create value. This is what the book defines as the most solid self-confidence a person can possess. In the end, when all three levels of assets are in place, you will reach the destination of our journey, that is, a truly controllable life. This controllability does not mean you can control everything. Rather, it means you have finally gained the most important thing in life, the right to choose. You can choose to do things that make your blood boil and that help others, instead of wasting time in a meaningless job just for a salary. You can choose to cooperate with people you admire and who can nourish each other, instead of draining yourself in complicated interpersonal relationships. You can design your life freely and proactively, instead of being pushed around by life. So, stop hesitating and take action right now. Your world is waiting for you to create it with your own hands. Thank you all for watching, and we'll meet again in the next book.